after I finished electrical engineering, I worked for a telephone company for a couple of years in their advanced communication department. And that led me to joining a company in town called PMC Sierra that develops semiconductors. So I worked on high-speed networking chips for many years, including working with the IEEE on developing the 10 gigabit Ethernet standards. Prior to joining Amulet Hotkey, I worked for almost 10 years at Teradici, and there worked with partners such as VMware and others on both virtual and remote workstations. Amulet Hotkey was one of the first partners that I met when I started working at Teradici, and I worked closely with them off and on for almost 10 years. And so when I started looking for a new role, so time for a change, Amulet Hotkey was an obvious choice. What attracted me to Amulet Hotkey is the diversity of technology solutions and partners. And so working with companies like Dell, EMC, with VMware, NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel, and then taking those solutions to a very broad range of customers that could be anything from media and entertainment, TV studios, or trading floors, all the way through government and defense. So it's such a broad variety of customers and technology, which really interests me. The most challenging thing about my role is also what I like most about the role is the diversity. But the challenge of that is not enough time in the day to dig into all of the technology areas that we engage in as much as I'd like to. Amulet Hotkey has been building remote workstation solutions for almost 30 years. And part of the value proposition for remote workstations included mitigating risks of pandemic. But up until a few years ago, it'd be a list of things that it would benefit for business continuity and disaster recovery. And pandemic was probably one of the last one, if not the last one you mentioned, because everyone thought, oh, pandemic is probably not the one we're going to have to deal with. But of course, in the last few years, that's now front and center. A key factor that can get overlooked with security in the rush just to provide remote access to employees working from home is a remote first approach. And so even though remote access from home is sort of a key element and a driving element in the hybrid workflows, but even when they're in the office, having employees connect remotely into their workstations or PCs or virtual machines, that adds an extra layer of security. So those virtual machines or workstations are in a secure data center, and not only the security, physical security around the data center, but also the encryption and authentication of the remote display protocols can be used even when they're in the office. So expanding that sort of protection all the way from the data center across the office out over to the home or hotels or wherever employees may be working. Since I'm based in Vancouver, Canada, I've been working remotely since I started at Amulet Hotkey in 2016. And I think I'm the first remote worker that they've officially supported. My computer was in the UK, and I connect remotely across the ocean using Amulet Hotkey Zero clients. And so I've seen our approach to remote access and hybrid workflows evolve, and I see similar traits with customers sort of in their journey toward adapting their workflows and work styles for employees. Yeah, some key trends that I see, number of discussions or regular discussions that I have across sort of business organizations are very reminiscent to defense and security discussions that I've had with many governments and security organizations maybe a decade plus ago. And so, even regular companies are now having to take similar approaches to what would have been considered, only that's sort of government level security. That's sort of becoming table stakes. The other aspect that I see a trend is machine learning and artificial intelligence, and how that's going to weave into many things, as it already is, but even getting further embedded all the way through to automated threat protection, threat identification, through to assisting troubleshooting and resolving just sort of day-to-day uh, IT issues for teams that have to support remote workers. There's many people in the industry that have inspired me over the years, and usually folks who have you know keen insight or just a different perspective on either the trends or current situation in business and in IT. But right now, it's the people who inspire me are executives at Amulet Hotkey. Working with folks like Stuart Holness and Tony Hilliard, and a number of customer executives that I deal with on a regular basis. You see the passion and the drive, which is quite inspiring. I grew up on an island and had to take a ferry to school every day. And one of the things I miss about being on the island is occasionally seeing orca and dolphins. And so, certain times of the year, it's only possible certain times, is I listen to Orca Live, which is a hydrophone that's in the water, in the ocean, a few hundred kilometers from where I lived. And you can hear the orca or other whales like humpback and gray whales calling to each other.